Chapter 9. Zhou Yunsheng was in the middle of taking a shower when suddenly a strong body hugged him from behind. A slightly rough big palm was wandering around his waist, slowly exploring downwards. He let out a passionate moan, asking disjointedly while enjoying the sensation, "You sold the shares to him?" "Yep," a man panted roughly, impatiently taking cities and seizing territories. He sucked and grinded on his lover's slender white nape, unable to stop. Zhou Yunsheng let out a muffled groan while he ridiculed, "Selling a pile of waste paper to your nephew at a sky-high price. You're a really good uncle. I sold it to him because I'm good to him. His whole journey has been too smooth. He needs to learn to face setbacks. Otherwise, when someone else attacks, he'll most likely suffer a crushing defeat and be unable to stand up again." Zhou Yunsheng concentrated on enjoying the caresses, but too busy to answer. As the protagonist of this world, Zhou Wenjing naturally experienced significant ups and downs, but during all of them, Du Shulang and his harem were there to help him out. Du Shulang's tolerance for him could be called unprincipled. It was very strange for him to not unfeelingly watch him jump ahead into a trap that he was fully aware of, even pushing him from behind. When the people around Zhou Wenjing changed, it would also indirectly change the world. Zhou Yunsheng squinted at the AI on his wrist that only he could see, his lips hooking up in satisfaction. The progress bar in the upper left corner of the AI had already risen to 75%, not far from the scheduled target. While the two Zhou family brothers were fighting to the death, Zhou family's eldest son was quiet. Seeing Zhou Wenjing's sudden rise to power, outsiders gasped in admiration, while also mourning the eldest son's incompetence. If the eldest son wasn't so mediocre, the Zhou group wouldn't fall into the hands of two illegitimate children. Yes, although Zhou Wenjing became the new chairman, Zhou Wenang still had 30% stake in Zhou clan and was a major shareholder. Even though there was no decision-making authority, the annual dividends could let him live a comfortable and free life. Today, Zhou Wenjing was preparing to hold the first shareholders' meeting since he took office. All were already present. A tall and beautiful secretary handed him his speech draft, her painted bright red nails slightly scratching the back of his hand suggestively. Zhou Wenjing's crotch tightened slightly, but his face wasn't obvious. He glanced at the speech and opened his mouth to speak, when the door of the conference room opened and a uniformed policeman came in. He took out some documents and solemnly said, "Good day, I'm the Section Chief of Commercial Crime Investigation Division, Xing Kuo-chan. I asked Mr. Zhou Wenang, Mr. Lin De-yi, Mr. Zhou Zhikong, Mr. Gang, Mr. Yang Ru-san, Mr. He-hong Bo to come with me to the police station for investigation." He arrested 11 people in one breath, every major shareholder of Zhou Group. The financial affairs staff and the company account books were all taken away, and Zhou Wenjing was asked to go to the police to help the investigation. Such a big movement attracted an uproar inside and outside of the industry. The stock prices that just barely began to rise due to the successful reorganization began to fall crazily again. 24 hours later, Zhou Wenjing was released, having learned that someone had hacked Zhou Wenang and Zhao Hao's computer, finding evidence of their bribery, tax evasion, money laundering, illegal financing, and other such criminal activities. The proof was anonymously mailed to the police department. Due to the huge amount of money involved in the case, the police quickly set out a task force to conduct an investigation on Zhou Group. If these charges were established, Zhou clan would face a series of problems, such as assets freezing, delisting, huge fines, or even more gravely, bankruptcy. In order to win Zhou clan, Zhou Wenjing had invested numerous consecutive millions. If Zhou clan collapsed, the Zhongda group that he had painstakingly built up would be implicated. Once the stock fell by a large amount, billions in assets would evaporate out of thin air. Competitors would attack en masse, dividing up Zhongda group until almost nothing was left. Zhou clan wasn't a gold mine, but a muddy swamp. Once one foot was set in, it would be difficult to get out. This was Zhou Wenjing's biggest crisis since entering the business world. He felt very disoriented and even somewhat fearful. He unconsciously started his car and drove towards Du Lang's company. "Uncle, you must help me." His voice stopped abruptly, staring at the two men in front of him, astonished. They were sunk into the genuine leather sofa. Both were holding a glass of red wine. A tall man was pressed underneath, a slender young man. Red wine was spilled onto the man's white shirt, resulting in the fabric clinging close to his skin, outlining his thick and broad, sturdy chest. His meticulously combed hair was now very messy, lining his incomparably handsome face, increasing his sex appeal. One of the taller man's hand was embracing the youth's flexible, powerful waist, the other hand reaching out to stabilize the wineglass. His eyes, usually flickering a dangerous light, were now filled with strong love and infatuation. The young man took a sip of wine and sealed their lips. The bright red liquid spilled along their joined lips. The scene was charming and beautiful. Zhou Jing's mind was impacted by this act, struggling to ask after several minutes had passed. "What is your relationship?" "What do you say is our relationship?" Zhou Yunsheng felt some disappointment after nibbing his lover's lips. He sat upright, raised his head to drain the rest of the red wine in one gulp. Because of lust, his ridiculously attractive peach blossom eyes were now even more extraordinarily gorgeous. Zhou Jing stared at Du Lang, seeing him not deny anything, only possessively tightly embracing the youth. At this, everything became clear. Collapsing a gigantic business warship like Zhou Clan, there certainly must be a greater force behind it. In the end, who hated Zhou Clan to the degree of wanting to destroy it, and who could mobilize such a huge force? Before he had been thinking deeply about these two issues, but when he arrived at the office and saw the scene, the answer was already on the verge of coming out. "So it's you, Shu Yuncheng. In order to take revenge, you would even sell your body? How extremely depraved. I don't know what Yang Si would think if she knew this," he ridiculed. Lu Lang heard him use his lover's dead mother's name to stimulate him, and a layer of frost condensed on his already cold face. But Zhou Yuncheng didn't get angry. Instead, he clapped his hands and laughed as if he had heard a very amusing joke. Zhou Wenjing's rage surged up at this reaction, asking interrogatingly, "What are you laughing at?" "I'm laughing at how much of a frock in a well you are. Put out the smoke." The last sentence was obviously for Du Lang, who was preparing a cigarette. Du Lang's hand with the lighter froze, then he naturally put it down, throwing the cigar in the trash and raising both hands in an "I surrender" gesture. The fawning attitude stung Zhou Wenjing's eyes even more. He sat opposite the two and took out a checkbook, sneering. "How much money did you sell yourself for? I'll give it to you. Don't involve my uncle." Zhou Yunsheng pursed his lips, his smile increasingly gentle. But Du Lang was unable to restrain his rage. He snapped, "Inua, see Wenjing out." Inua Suzanne, who was hiding outside the door watching the play, had no choice but to come forward. The two bodyguards were called to escort the boss's cheap nephew out. In the first place, the two had no blood relationship. Even if Zhou Wenjing's mother was a beloved childhood friend, he ran all the way to Sea Country to take care of him, then gave him money and contracts to start his own business. The boss had already invested more than enough. What qualifications did Zhou Wenjing have to intervene in the boss's emotional affairs? He really was being treated too good, becoming more and more greedy. Inu Suzanne glanced at the angry Zhou and Jing and inwardly shaking his head. Jing Xiao, look at this. Inu Suzanne walked him to the downstairs lounge, turned on the hall's hanging display screen. The internationally renowned TV host Lydia's glamorous face appeared, reading a long English passage with a slight French accent. Zhou Wenjing's attention was immediately captured. This was a country's most famous channel, CBS, with an exclusive interview with Noah Universal's chairman. Because he'd returned to Sea Country and was busy paying up Zhou clan, he hadn't yet seen the broadcast. What kind of person was Noah Universal's chairman? He started off by selling small software at first. When Noah Universal was registered, it was only worth an insignificant 4,000. But in just a year and a half, it was generating 40 million in profits and was successfully listed. Noah Group was very young. This year was just its 6th anniversary of establishment. But it had pushed aside numerous old conglomerates and steadily occupying the number 1 spot in the world's top 100 companies. Noah Group's chairman was extremely low-key and never appeared in the media, but this didn't prevent people from worshipping him. He was the young generation of independent entrepreneurs' idol. He created a legend that no man could break. Even the considered Zhou and Jing had no choice but to acknowledge the other's strength. But what did he see? He actually saw Zhou Yunsheng's face on the screen. How can this be? Mr. Saw is also the illustrious side. Lydia looked very surprised, immediately asking sharply, "You participated in your own company's competition, then won with a brilliant success? Did you get inside the data before the game? The other contestants might not find that very fair." It turns out that he was also the side. Zhou Wenjing's surprise could not increase any further. The war for the acquisition of Clearwater Warehouse was really too brilliant. After the video of the game was passed around, it was treated as a trade war textbook by business people. Every detail was repeatedly studied, then their evaluation were published. As a result, the side, because of his long-term business foresight and swift and decisive reaction in investing, was pushed into the idol altar by people. Everyone was curious about the identity of that extraordinary person. What identity did he have in reality? But in the end, he was Noah Universal's chairman. Yes, he must have gotten insider information in advance. What advanced to the point of precognition strategizing? It was all false. He was cheating. Zhou Jing would never willingly admit to his first crushing defeat. On the screen, Zhou Yunsheng smiled slightly. "I swear to God that I didn't get any information whatsoever. I started off like the other players. I thought that being behind Noah Group was already enough to show my strength." Lydia was rendered speechless by him, smiling in embarrassment. Yes, he was only 20 when he successfully developed Noah Universal into the colossal it was today. He led an era, changed people's lives. Just sitting there already represented his everything. As for the rest of the interview, Zhou and Jing wasn't in the mood to listen to anymore. While he was immeasurably complacent with his first earned money, while he was proud and self-satisfied with the splendid Zongda group, Zhou Yunsheng had already long left him behind. Zhou Yunsheng was able to on equal footing with otherworldly powerful people like Du Junlang, while he was secretly delighted with just being respectfully called Jing Shao. He even thought that the other man sold his body for an insignificant shore group. He even tried to use money to humiliate him. Noah Group had annual profits of tens of billions. Even if a check worth a few millions fell to the ground, Zhou Yuncheng would probably feel too lazy to pick it up. Such a gap. It was simply a complete contrast. Zhou Jing didn't know how to describe his own mortified mood. Seeing Inu Suzanne watching him intently with narrowed eyes, he flushed red and fled away.